Okay, so let's talk about selecting text. Selecting text is important because in order for you to be able to maybe delete large amounts of text, or move it, or copy, replace it with other text, to link it, and even do just regular formatting, advanced formatting, you have to select the area so that the program knows what you want to change. In other words, if not, I mean, your formatting changes and anything else that you're doing are going to do it to the whole document. So we have to kind of be very specific as to what we want to have affected. And by selecting that text in different ways makes that happen properly. So let's start out with the very basic stuff. First of all, if you had, let's say, this word right here, the word provides, and you wanted to select that so that you can make it bold, or you wanted to select that because you wanted to delete it, whatever you're trying to do, what you would do is, there's a couple ways you can do the word. We can either start from the beginning here, hold down the mouse, and then just kind of drag it till we get to the end there. That's pretty tedious, and that's going to get very grueling if you're going to be doing that hour after hour after hour, because you're maybe making major changes to your document. So that probably isn't the best thing, even though if you were wanting to maybe select a whole line or two, then that would be a pretty effective way. But just doing one little word, that's kind of tough. Now, the other way to select the word would be to kind of point to it and just do a double click. And this is a very this is a standard technique. You can do this pretty much in almost any program. You point to the word, you double click it, it highlights the word. That's pretty simple. And then once I've got it highlighted, I can go up there, I can make it bold, let's say. Or I can go over here and I can change the color to red or something. So I can do stuff like that. That's pretty much how I did these. After I had done them with the initial style, I went back to them and I made them bold as well. So now if I just wanted to highlight a phrase, let's just say maybe for whatever reason, I want to take this part here and hold on my mouse, and I'm just kind of dragging it across like that, all right? And I get to that spot about right there, all right? And I go ahead and on my keyboard, I go ahead and hit my delete key, wipes it out, just like that. It's not going to make much sense the way it is, and of course, look what happens. It pops up, giving me that little underline. If I do a right click on that, it tells me that because that's part of a sentence, in other words, there's a comma after charts, it doesn't need to be capitalized, so I'm just going to go ahead and click onto that, and that'll bring it back down again. Still not grammatically correct, but don't worry about that. So that would be probably the best way to select in that case. Now, if you're having a bad mouse day, or better yet, a bad drag day, okay, you can actually do it like this instead. You can actually take your mouse and click there, all right, hold down your shift key and click over here, and that highlights the whole thing. That's pretty easy, all right. Another way would be if you didn't want to even use the mouse, how would you select that little section there? Well, what you would do is you'd first of all use your arrow keys and you would navigate to where you want to go. So let's just say you want to go, let's say, right at the very beginning from there. And now let's say you want to highlight the next 4 words, right? Well, if you hold down the shift key, right, and you hit the right arrow key, it'll highlight, it'll select in essence, as you hit that right arrow key, all right? Now, earlier I was showing you how you can kind of jump around, where if you held down the control key and hit the right arrow key, it jumps you one word at a time. Well, if you hold down the shift key while holding down the control key, it'll jump you one word at a time and highlight it at the same time. So that's a pretty, I mean, it seems like it's a pretty basic thing, but it's something that you'll often resort to when you're just tired of having to grab the mouse and and select an area. This might be a nice little alternative for once in a while, or for a while, right? Okay, so now what if you wanted to select a sentence? Okay, so let's just say this one right here. Okay, now normally, given what we've already done, you'd say, well, I'm going to go to here and I'll drag it to there, right? That's fine. Another way you can do it though is if you hold down the control key and then point anywhere on the sentence that you want to highlight and click your mouse, there you go. Now, if you change your mind and you'd rather select this sentence, you can't just hold on your control key and click over here because this is already highlighted up here. So what you have to do is kind of click it once anywhere on there, right? Then hold on your control key and click it again, and then you'll get that whole sentence. So that's pretty cool. Now, if you want to highlight the paragraph, I mean the whole paragraph or whatever it is, let's say you want to take this paragraph and select that whole paragraph, get it highlighted, and then you can do whatever you want with it. You would point to anywhere in here. You would do a triple click. So that's 1, 2, 3, and there we go. So I did 3 clicks to get that. So I point to here, click, 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 and that does it. All right. Now, what if I wanted to select the whole document? Maybe because I want to select the whole thing and I want to change the text color to orange or something. All right. How would I do that? Or I want to change the font or whatever. Well, you would click anywhere in the document. This is one way. Anywhere in the document, hold on your control key, hit the letter A, everything gets selected. I mean, that whole thing, everything is totally selected here. Okay? Then you would do whatever formatting or whatever you'd want to do in that case. You click away from it, then it unselects it. Now, here's another way to do those 2 last things that we just did here. If I go off to the side here, let me just show you this one other thing before we do that. If I want to select a line, in other words, I want to select this line right here real quick. Now I could, like I said before, I could drag it like that. I could double click it. All right. I could triple click it. It won't matter because it's just a 1-line paragraph. But think about this. I can go off to the side here, get into the margin, make sure I got the arrow looking the way you see it right there, click it, it does that line. So if I'm on, let's say just for whatever reason I want to make just this line selected, it's part of a sentence, but it's the first line in that paragraph, I click it, look at that. I go down to there, click it, click it, click it. Not bad at all, pretty easy to do. Now, back to what I was going to talk about. If we're in the margin there, right, and I do a double click in the margin, it does the whole paragraph. Ooh, pretty cool. Now, if I wanted to do the whole document, well, I'm still in the margin. Don't matter where I'm at, but I'm in the margin here, right? If I do a triple click, boom, 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 the whole document becomes selected. So that's pretty effective there. So if I just click anywhere on here, then it just unselects everything. Let me show you something else here. If I were, let's just say I was at the beginning of this paragraph right here. If I hold down my shift key and hit my down arrow key, look at that. So I can do something like that if I wanted to. Pretty nice. It's kind of interesting to know how to do these things using these techniques, because once in a while, maybe the more efficient ones just don't work for you, you know. But, and again, it's whatever day you're having. Now, here's another thing. I can actually go off to the side here in the margin, and instead of clicking or anything, I can just hold down my mouse and drag it, see, and I can highlight it that way. So that's pretty cool. I can just do that if I wanted to. Not bad. Okay, so let's just do a real quick review, and then we'll end this video with this. Let me just show you real quick here. Putting these in maybe a better grouping. If I'm off on the edge here, I can go click to do a line, click, click to do a paragraph, click, click, click to do the whole document. Within the paragraph, I can point to a word, double click it, it gives me the word, triple click it, I get the paragraph, right? If I quadruple click it, 1, 2, 3, 4, what happens? Nothing. All right, so we got that part. If you're doing this with your keyboard, I can go to a starting point, let's say right there, hold down the shift key, arrow, 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 arrow to the right. If I want to go a little bit quicker, hold down the control key along with the shift, and that will jump one word at a time. If I do the control shift down arrow key, it'll do one paragraph at a time, or bring me back if I went too far, hitting the up arrow key. And last but not least, as far as highlighting or selecting sentences, I always call it highlighting, but it's really selecting. Selecting it, all I have to do is I can just point anywhere on the sentence, hold down the control key, click, it highlights the whole thing. I can then hit my delete key and delete it if I wanted to, or do anything else I want. All right, so now one last thing, and this is kind of like a highlighting, but it's kind of like in limbo, if you can imagine that. I you know, I don't even know what's going through your minds with me saying that, but here's the thing. Let's say that I want to highlight all the words that are spelled as video. So all the words that are video, okay, video. The word video, I want that to be highlighted throughout the entire document so that I can go maybe to certain areas there and either select them and get rid of them, or select them and change their color, you know, or change their font, their size, you know, or do whatever I need to it. But I need to find all instances of a particular word or phrase, right? So watch this. If I go back into the find here, I click on to find, all right, our little panel pops up, and the last thing I typed in was video, so that's why it's coming up here. But I would type in video, and then while I've done that, I can then go back to some of these and say, okay, I want to take that one and I want to make it red, right? And kind of go from there with it, right? And then once you've done that, then you'll see on here it says search is paused. I can then hit the down arrow key, right? And it will jump me now to the next one. And then I can look and see that one, or maybe I can look around over here. But regardless, if you get off there and you make a change, this thing goes into pause, and then when you want to get it going again, you just hit the down arrow key and it'll take you to the next one. So as you can see, I'm just hitting that down arrow, or the point arrow there, and it's just jumping back and forth between them all. So that's pretty cool. And then when I'm all done, I can just go ahead and close that up, and it goes back the way it was. There we go. All right, so that should pretty much take care of selecting, you know, and all the different ways you can do that. So hopefully that will come in handy. Appreciate you watching the video. Take care.